Good morning. I was watching Fox News today, and they had a segment on about what was happening between the rift now that's between the U.S. and Saudi Arabia. And if you remember, it was Obama who said, "Okay, you crossed this red line, and we're gonna take action." So a portion of the Arab world mobilized to support Obama in his taking action, as did a lot of the European nations. And then all of a sudden he said, he found the way out of it through Russia. And now what we see as a result of this and other things is that the United States is becoming more and more irrelevant. And knowing the time that we are in, prophetically speaking, this only means one thing. The United States is getting ready to become truly irrelevant. And I believe that's part of what Barack Obama's job was to do as president. Because he is a direct result of how the people have behaved. The United States people. He is the leader this country deserves. This country has rejected God. Come up with all these other false Christs, through Catholicism, Mormonism, Seventh-day Adventism. And for centuries now it's been that way. When we first started out, there may have been some solid Christians in this country. But with the birth of the emergent church, where they say Christianity has to evolve, it has to adapt to the times to stay relevant. And then through that they bring in Eastern mysticism and just outright satanic practices, and then call it Christianity. One of those is, of course, as I've been talking about for many years now, is homosexuality. We have one group of homosexuals that just says the Bible's not real, there's nothing to it, and I'm gay. And then we have another group of Christians, of homosexuals, that are saying, no, we're Christians. The Bible doesn't condone homosexuality, and I was made this way by God. That's the perverted influence that's been brought into the church. And if you sit down and read with any intellectual or spiritual honesty, you can see the scriptures outright condemn homosexuality. Just as God has said through his scriptures that those that divide the land of Israel, he is going to shred, he is going to destroy. And we've been trying to divide the land of Israel for at least 4 decades now. The reason why there is a Palestine is because somebody got the great brainstorm idea to give them the land. And then convinced the Israel leadership to do the same. So now this country, as a result of that, is suffering the consequences. We've gone into complete apostasy, the churches here. And worldwide, out of the 2.2 billion so-called Christians, as labeled by the secular world, you can count out right off the top 1.1 because of Catholicism. And then the 14 million, the 16 million of Mormon, Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah's Witness. And then you add on the Protestants that have gone so apostate, like the Episcopal, Methodist, Lutheran, Emergent Church. And you're left with this, out of 2.2 billion Christians, so-called, as labeled by the secular world, you're left with maybe 300 or 400 million that might actually be real Christians. And of course, that's just a rough guess, but the rapture will tell. Now, back to the point of the United States becoming irrelevant. As we've seen the decline of Christianity, real Christianity, in this country and in the world, we have seen the world steadfastly step in the direction of false spirituality. Atheism is falling apart, and it will fall apart even more within 10 years because anyone who does not take the mark of the beast will be killed by the Antichrist. That includes atheists. they're virtually going to be extinct. No atheist is going to lose their head for their stupid belief of no God. They're not stupid enough to lose their life. They'll take the mark. Now, Saudi Arabia distancing itself from the United States. The United States is distancing itself from Israel. We have Isaiah 17 and Isaiah 19 right now taking place. You can see them actually happening with your own eyes. What I believe, and this is the point of all that rambling, is that the United States, in this process of losing its dominance over the world, step by step, chink by chink, bit by bit, the last thing that's going to happen is going to be sudden. It's going to be catastrophic. So I'm thinking that through a combination of events that will probably happen simultaneously or in short order, rapture, Psalm 83, economic collapse worldwide, will immediately render the United States ineffectual. And that is why we do not see the United States talked about in end times prophecy. And I don't care if you think the United States is Babylon or not. That makes no sense. All the action takes place in the Middle East as a result of European nations. It was the European legions that sacked Rome with some Arab legions' help. But it's going to be the prince of the people that sacked the Romans. It's going to be a Roman person that's going to be an Antichrist. I wouldn't be surprised if he has some very interesting background, though. Very interesting lineage. But what we're seeing right now, back to the point, is that process by which the United States is being rendered irrelevant. And we are. Our leadership, whether it's knowing or unknowing, is doing exactly what needs to be done for the world to be taken over by the Antichrist, just as is the rest of the world. This country's already done. God said he would shred to pieces anyone that divided the apple of his eye, the land of Israel. And it's happening right now. Look what happened to our government. Look what happened to the people that put these governments into power. They're voting for politicians. We have the Republican Party, we have the Democratic Party. Democratic Party races to socialism. Republican Party going that same direction, it's just a little slower. So as you see, we'll have this back and forth, but it doesn't make a difference how fast. It all goes to the same point. A socialistic one world government under the Antichrist. And trust me, most of those people probably don't even know what they're doing. But it's what's happening. We are watching prophecy being fulfilled in stunning fashion with our own eyes, and I still get comments on my YouTube videos about how prophecy just is irrelevant. It had happened, after the prophetic events happened, they were written about, and after the fact. People said that about Daniel for years. Oh, it was so accurate that it had to be recorded after the fact. Until they found the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then they're like, uh-oh, they had to retract everything. Because the Dead Sea Scrolls are like 1,000 years older than anything we had prior until that time from the Old Testament. So, you're seeing it with your own eyes, people. It's in your hands. You make up your mind what you're going to do. And you had better do it fast. God said, I'm coming. It's going to happen. You may not understand all of it, but it's happening right now. You should be have an eye on the Middle East, watching our country decline, watching the world getting ready to go into chaos, the same chaos that's going to introduce the Antichrist. And part of that chaos, the cause of it, I believe, is going to be the rapture. If you see that with your own eyes, you had better become a believer, and you had better be willing to die for your faith in Christ. Because if you're not, you're going to take that mark, and you're going to die. And you're going to go to hell. And then after you're in hell, at the great white throne judgment, hell is going to be emptied into the lake of fire. It's just a holding place, just like Abraham's bosom was. So it's in your hands. I've yacked and yacked and yacked. I've showed the prophecies. I've given the verses. Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 10, 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verses 1 through 4. That's the gospel. That's what you need to be saved. And if you see the rapture happen, church is gone. You see the Antichrist rise up out of a world of chaos, and you see him have all the answers. You see him, through his political career, build himself to the point where he's going to enter into the newly rebuilt temple, which is also a prophecy, in Jerusalem on the Temple Mount, and proclaim himself to be God. You know, you've seen it. You've seen it with your own eyes. And that's when he's going to institute the mark of the beast. You have to worship him. Without that mark, you won't be able to buy, sell, or trade. You're being told up front before it happens. The Bible's done that for 2,000 years. Well, 1,800 years. You've been told. You've been told before these events are going to happen, so you can make a judgment, an assessment, to look at the prophecies for yourself and make a decision. And each time you delay, you put that decision off, things get worse. Because if you become a believer in the 7-year tribulation, you are going to have to die for your faith. You're going to have to endure till the end. Don't take the mark of the beast, you see it, but become believers before the rapture and then be taken away from it before it happens. All right, bye.